Everybody, welcome back to another video. So today I want to try to show the process of getting my Batmobile from Gravity Sketch from the Oculus Quest 2 into something like Marmoset and exporting it out. So there was a few issues that I did have trying to figure out the correct process, and there was some videos online to help, but I just kind of want to show my workflow of what I had to do. There was like small adjustments. Probably about 90% of the model was Gravity Sketch, and then the rest of it was kind of adjusted inside of 3D Max, and then welding vertices and cleaning up here and there. It's just a little bit of cleanup, but wasn't much that I did, and then I dropped it in Marmoset Toolbag for it. So I just kind of want to show a little bit of that process where I export it out from Gravity Sketch and then go to the cloud and then bring it back into 3D Max and then go to Marmoset. It's kind of a little bit of a process, but it seemed to work because I really like this, that everything was created inside of my Oculus, and I don't know, that's pretty cool to me. So I'm gonna jump on the computer and the Oculus to kind of show what I mean. So now we're jumping into Gravity Sketch, and it's on the Oculus Quest 2. I've got my model pretty much where I'm happy. Some of the details, I had to stop using the smooth, because when you turn it on you get this, and the Oculus can only handle so much, and I knew that was a given, so I needed to turn everything off to make it like a low poly. But everything is pretty cool. I dig it. I was pretty happy with what you can complete or model inside of one of these headsets and actually get to almost a finished product or something that I'm happy with. I did have to do some adjustments when I brought it in 3D Max. I had to weld some of the seams and connect the edges and little things like that. But on the export is where I kind of ran into a little bit of some of the issues. And you'll want to go to the settings. I exported as OBJ, and also I'll go back one. I saved it on the cloud so that I could just jump on the computer and actually go from there, and then go to advanced options. Default, I believe, was set at render, and when I saved it as render, it was in every face was detached, and I didn't want to have to go back and weld and figure out what was what. So control seemed to work. And the other thing is, I think this was set to single. So what I did is put the welded, and that seemed to fix everything once I exported it out. And I could probably, let's go ahead and do that. Let's set it to what it probably was the first time, because I have a good model and I have another model that's not so good. And we'll go back and let me export this out and then see where it goes from there. This is going to export it to your cloud, and you'll need to get on the computer and export it from there. And we'll go to export, and we'll call this default, because that's kind of like what it was from what I remember. If I'm wrong, just remember that it needed to be set to the other thing on your export. So when you go, and it's still loading, there's a, there you go. Please wait. If you look at your little control, it'll show that it's uploading to the cloud. Success. And it'll tell you. If you try to hurry it up, then it'll if you go to your computer and you're like, oh, it should be there, and you beat it, then it won't be there. You'll be like, where did it go? So usually I have it set to here. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there in case I do need to export it again and forget. So welded and control is what I pretty much seem to be happy with, and it looks like you can actually set the scale and everything else with it. And I just left it as is because I could always scale it later. This just really didn't matter much to me. So let's jump into the computer and then see the OBJs that I've exported. I have one that actually worked with, and the other one that probably the default. So let's jump on the next program on the computer in our browser. So now we're in our browser. We're going to jump into Gravity Sketch, their website. We're going to open this up. I'm just kind of trying to show some of the process of what you should do or where you should go in case you're new to this. You go to landing pad, and this will open up your cloud that we saved to, and it'll make it easier to download these files. So now we have our back card default that I just saved. I'm going to click this and we download that. The card that worked was this back card 9. The settings that I originally said were when I opened up the file. And so let's jump into 3D Max and see. Let's compare the OBJs. Now that we have our file saved, it will download a zip file. It will extract this. You can put it to here. Just to all. And it's going to give you all the references that came along that you brought into any and then Gravity Sketch, and it puts it all in one little zip. I don't need those, so I'm going to go ahead and remove them. This is the default, and I have the other files that I need. So let's jump into 3D Max. Go ahead and import this default file. This is originally what I ended up with. Continue. So the file looks fine until you start trying to look at it a little bit more, because if I were to subdivide this into the other program in Marmoset, we'll add a Turbo Smooth, you'll see that these faces are all individual. And if I were to go into the mesh, you'll see that it's not pretty. So that didn't work with the default settings of Gravity Sketch. What I really wanted was the settings that I had said to put on there. So let's import the file that I checked those two settings, the welded vertices and then the other one as controller, I believe. Let's open it up, import this one, and then we'll take a look at this model. Rename all. Okay. So now if we look at the model, you can see that it's a little bit cleaner. No triangulation. If I go to the polygons, I can move it up and down. There's no detached faces. If I were to use Turbo Smooth, it smooths the model correctly. So this is perfect for what I need. And the little things that I adjusted from going here to Marmoset, just optimize and auto edge, and then just drop this down a little bit, and then it took away the triangulation. So you can see. You can play with this. You could probably get more. There you go. More of a cleaner mesh when you start playing with it a little bit more. Same thing with all the other little pieces. I kind of went back and cleaned it up a little bit. That's why I say 90% when I compare it to how much I did in the Oculus and then carry it over and then rendering and everything else. So now that we have this, we're going to export this out and actually grab these files and export them into Marmoset. The materials I kind of leave as is. I kind of texture everything in Marmoset, but we'll jump into that and I'll show you a little bit more of that process now. So now I'm jumping into Marmoset Toolbag 4. Let's import this model, Batman, go to export. And I have a fixed version, and that's what I'll be importing in. This is the one I kind of cleaned up. That's what I've been working with. So now you have your file. It looks like it works. And what I did was actually just give it a material, so we can select this material and start adjusting colors. And from here, it's pretty much just starting to fine-tune the model. I went to each piece. I actually subdivide onto it to give subdivisions. I knew which ones I wanted to subdivide, and so going around, some of them got a little bit more subdivision than other parts. Got that 2 in the wings and subdivide. So now you can start seeing it come together. After getting in here, I start tweaking the materials, and we can actually go to the textures. There are plenty of materials to choose from if you want to go to something specific. Let's go to see plastic. You can add pretty much anything you want. You can just drop in and you can see that there's different materials. Electrical tape. This is kind of, Batman reminds me of like a electrical tape kind of material. You got a rubber glossy. You get that kind of a interesting noise look inside of your texture. You can actually start applying it. I can apply this to the tires. Go to the tire and drop these textures down. A lot of this was just playing around and trying to get the look of the Batmobile. So after getting everything I wanted, then I go to the lighting and start trying to find a preset. Going down, I think I went to something like this, and you can actually change your background. You can turn the blur off. You can actually go into make it look like this scene is actually in there. So let's rotate this around. And you can actually put the Batmobile in here. Start placing it a little bit more. It's kind of funny when you start looking at it. You're just like, oh, this is neat. Start getting some of that. We can clear it up. Now you got this, and you can put like a shadow catcher to start catching shadows. You can start lighting the scene. You can pick some lights and start pulling them in. Give it a little more highlights on the side to make it look like it's in the scene. And then you can go back in and start tweaking these lights. You can start brightening up some of these parts, give it a little more detail. So let's jump into the file that I actually created to do this. So let's open scene, save this, Batmobile, Toolbag 4, and this is what I end up with. I started to go around and started changing the lighting, started using ray trace to turn it on. Now you can kind of get a final look, and I did a duplicate copy so I can actually turn the car so you can see front and back. If I go to perspective, we can start to see what the model looks like. I have a light catcher, everything is in here, everything is clean. You can start playing with different backgrounds, different lighting setups, different placement, wherever you want the car to be. Now you can kind of see what it is. You can see a guy right there standing in the shadows of the camera. It's funny, but it seemed to work in the scene, and I did a depth of field so then it blurred the background so it didn't look like it was. I didn't want to worry about the HDR environment to kind of do it, but you got your lamppost and everything else. If I were to go to my camera 1, you can actually start brightening up lights. So you get the lights a little hotter, start playing with everything. And for anybody who knows Marmoset, then you know it's pretty much a playground after that. So this is just kind of a short process I wanted to show, just getting it from the Oculus Quest into 3D Max to clean it up a little bit, and then dropping it into here. And right here is pretty much just whatever your artistic vision wants to see, whatever you want to make it. And there's so many things you can do inside of here once you get it in. You can change your camera settings, you got your presets, you got different things you can do. You can just go on for days and just try to fine-tune this, or you can go back and fine-tune it back in Max if you really want to. But this is where it ended up. It started in Gravity Sketch, and I really wanted it to I wanted to learn the program, so this is my way of forcing myself to say, all right, let's finish a project and get it out of here and then see what we can do with it. And this is what I end up with, the Batmobile. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was informative. Hope I learned as I went through this process, and I hope you go back through the other videos of me creating this model and then getting to this point. So thank you for watching, and have a good day.